Okay, we're using helicopters and anti-air this time. Oh no, it does give us plenty of firepower, believe me.
It's a tankless job, but somebody's gotta do it.
Oh, Andy. Oh, I love this menu theme so much, even though you only got to hear a few seconds of it. In general, like, really, really great music here. Okay, yeah, Oh, so it's a bit of a suspend feature, just like Fire Emblem, that's cool. So, now we know the ropes. Let's go up against Olaf once more in Copter Tactics. I still love this jingle! I'm sorry, Nell never used the words Olaf and Shrewd Tactician in the same sentence. So he has helicopters and medium tanks. We saw a medium tank last time, but I didn't really fully go over it. But yeah, it's a little... Okay, this is one of my main criticisms of the unit art style in the remake. It is a little difficult to distinguish regular tanks from medium tanks. You can see on that top bridge that there's a Blue Moon regular tank and a medium tank behind it. Yeah, you can kind of tell if you squint hard. In the original GBA graphics, it was very obvious what was a medium tank and what was a regular tank. And because medium tanks have very different unit matchups and like strengths, it's very important to know what unit is what on the map. And like everything is usually pretty distinct. Like you can generally tell the difference between a mech and an infantry, and a helicopter. But medium tanks. Oh, Andy. Oh, Andy.
Yes.
See, here's the problem. Here's the big problem. Nell's unfortunately not going to do a good job of teaching Andy. He's not going to get much smarter. I do like how the tutorials are optional in these missions, though, given that they're now considered official campaign missions. So, we're dealing with not only battle copters, but also transport copters. They work just like APCs, except they can't resupply things. And like APCs, they can only carry foot soldiers. They have no weapons. And once again, this is kind of bad transport etiquette. You should position the transport one move away from the unit that you want to load into it to get the maximum out of the move distance. But yeah, let's go over the transport copter right here. It has a movement of 6, and because it's an air unit in terms of movement type, it is not slowed down by terrain. However, it also never receives defensive cover from terrain. Would have been kind of cool if there was like a storm cloud terrain type that did that. I know that Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn does that, and I kind of wish more games did stuff like that, but anyway. Never gets the benefits from terrain. Has 99 fuel, but look at this caveat right here. This is important. Unlike vehicles, which can't move when they run out of fuel, air units crash and die if they run out of fuel. So yeah, they consume 1 unit per space they move to, and also, air units burn fuel every turn, even if they're stationary. That's another thing to keep in mind. The same is true for ships, which we'll see later. But yeah, transport copters have no weapons and can't attack. Transport copters are fairly flimsy defensively. Even infantry machine guns do good damage to them. So you want to keep them out of danger from enemies. So, yeah, this infantry is going to jump into that transport copter. And here, we can fly all the way down there. And once again, we don't really want to load things one space before their destination. That kind of wastes movement. But yeah, no dropping them in water. That's important. It's not as funny as how they do it in Dual Strike and, yeah, in Dual Strike and also, Black Hole Rising. How did I forget that for a moment? But yeah, so the thing is, important thing to note about transport copters. Even though, like, you might think, oh, I can move here and then unload the infantry because the infantry can traverse the adjacent tile, you can't actually unload units unless the transport is on top of terrain that can support foot soldiers. So we actually have to go to solid ground here. So Olaf is doomed to lose in the next 2 turns if this infantry remains undamaged. However, Olaf does have a battle copter in position, and if an infantry that is not being commanded by a certain person we won't be introduced to until way later takes even a single point of damage, they can't capture a property in 2 turns. So even if that battlecopter enemy battlecopter takes like a little bit of damage, as long as it can reduce my infantry by 1 HP, it's still delayed Olaf's loss by 1 turn, and that's bad. But we're dealing with a battlecopter here. Battlecopters are a very versatile and powerful unit. They only cost 9,000, which is quite cheap because their missiles do very good damage to tanks, and unlike tanks, they don't take a lot of damage in the counterattack because they only take machine gun fire from the tank, and copters are pretty resistant to machine guns. They also do solid damage against ships, and again, good luck actually hitting a sub with a battlecopter, but if you do, it's pretty solid. They also devastate infantry. They run out of ammo for some reason. They can do bad damage to vehicles with machine guns, but like, you will almost never see a copter run out of ammunition. And against other copters, essentially the attacker wins. Copters are very much glass cannons versus other copters. If they get hit first, they get wrecked, as you're about to see right now. Yeah, they're an air unit and they're a direct combat unit, and they are very versatile because they can attack infantry, tanks, and other helicopters, all for very good matchups. So despite their slightly higher cost than tanks, they're still cheap enough that makes them a very mainstay unit. And yeah, Nell just said they're again terrain bonuses. That's kind of important to know. Okay then. So normally I'd advise attacking the copter here, but Nell knows that we've got another unit in position to deal with that copter already. So yeah, we can go for that tank here. Copters also make for excellent like walls against infantry and things like that. And they're also solid versus medium tanks, although I might actually want to move my copter there because I think... No, actually, wait, no. There's a forest there. That medium tank won't be able to reach me. I'll explain medium tanks in a bit, but medium tanks, their main weakness is they are a little bit slow. So yeah, you might have noticed there the copter took a tiny bit of retaliatory fire, like half of an HP worth, but still, yeah, not great. Battlecopters are good against tanks. However, this is another good point to remember. Cities not equipped to resupply helicopters. They don't have like helipads or anything like that. You need to have an airport to do that, which is Andy's bane. Oh boy, Nell, if you only knew what would happen when Andy first encountered airports. But yeah, they can restock fuel and ammo with APCs. APCs pretty much universally carried fuel that works on everything. So we have an anti-aircraft gun here. Now, anti-air units have a movement of 6 and move on treads, identical to tanks. Unlike tanks, anti-air units are really, really bad against tanks, and especially medium tanks. You do not want to expose them to tank fire. In a rock, paper, scissors relationship, you can say that tanks beat anti-air beat copters, and copters beat tanks. The thing with anti-air is that, contrary to their name, and this mission doesn't really do a good job of tutorializing this, it's kind of more of a thing in Advance Wars 2 that explains this. Anti-airs are incredibly powerful against foot soldiers, as well as air units. In fact, assuming no terrain defense, anti-airs at full HP one-shot foot soldiers, which can be, well, not can be, which is incredible. They're also terrible against tanks and stuff like that. Don't use them against tanks unless the tank is severely weakened, but, as you'd expect from an anti-air, they one-shot copters, again assuming they're on full HP. They one-shot battlecopters, they do not one-shot planes. Planes are a bit more expensive than copters and thus a little bit more defensive, but planes are also a bit more situational. Anti-airs, though, are also incredible against bombers once you start seeing them. This anti-air unit right here. I'm not actually allowed to select its attack range here, but yeah, they work best against air units. And here I probably want to go here, because you always want to attack from a defensive tile if possible, even though it's not going to matter here, because look at that overkill! The 120% damage ensures that even a slightly damaged anti-air unit will still one-shot copters. Though, you do need to be careful though. Air units are quite expensive, and so destroying them will give your opponent a lot of power charge. You do have to be careful because you can quite easily raise your opponent's power meter a lot faster than you might expect if you're not careful with destroying their air units. Yeah, they one-shot mechs and infantry, but yeah, they lose to tanks. So again, it's a rock, paper, scissors triangle. Anti-air beat copters, copters beat tanks, tanks beat anti-air. Yeah, that battlecopter is going to be a huge problem. Luckily I have a solution. Missiles! Everyone's solution to everything, especially in this universe. But, okay then. Yeah, that battlecopter would damage my infantry and prevent the HQ cap, as I mentioned earlier, but missiles. Missiles are a very, very, very controversial unit in Advance Wars. They are very situational, because as you can see here, they move on tires and only have 4 move, which is very, very bad movement range-wise. On anything that is not roads or cities, they're gonna suck in terms of movement, and they also can't move and fire, making them even less mobile. They do have a niche of having very good vision for a ground unit in Fog of War, but this isn't Fog of War, so that's pointless. Missiles are indirect units, like artillery, but they have a minimum range of 3, and that's actually a huge problem. I can't quite show its attack range just yet, but that's the biggest weakness of missiles. The main reason to use missiles is they one-shot copters just like anti-air, but they also essentially one-shot planes, which anti-air don't do. Missiles are pretty decent for creating no-fly zones. They're meant to be a defensive air deterrent to protect other vulnerable units from things like bombers and battlecopters. But again, their tread type, their minimum range, and the fact that they are incredibly expensive, it all means that they are a little, they're a little situational and a bit not the best. They cost 12,000. Like, for that price, you can almost get 2 tanks. But the campaign mode does often give you missiles on maps where the enemy has a lot of air units. Advance Wars 1's campaign is very much based on solving puzzles with the tools you're given, whereas Advance Wars 2's campaign is more about making up your own strategies on the fly and building up your army gradually. They're very, very different games, even though they run on the same engine and have the same kind of characters and mechanics. So yeah, draw missiles within the missiles anti. This is the problem, because, yeah. Yep, you do know Olaf, he's an idiot. Yeah, the minimum range of 3 is unfortunate, because air units, like for example battlecopters, they've got 6 move. And planes have even more crazy movement. It is very, very easy for air units to just zip into the minimum range of a missile unit. So that's why missiles kind of suck in a lot of situations. Like, they're still okay, but yeah, they're not the best. Now, okay, here's a problem with mechs and having kind of bad movement. Yeah, they won't be able to reach my tank if I put it here, and this is a rare situation where I do want to take an engagement on a zero defense property, because I want to block off this medium tank. If this medium tank shoots my anti-air, the anti-air is done. The problem, though, is that I can't just put my artillery behind and shell the medium tank, because if I do, the artillery will get hit by mechs, and you really, really don't want that, because, yeah, that's a really, really bad thing. We have these medium tanks here. I know I promised to go over Olaf and Nell. In fact, speaking of which, okay, his power meter's not charged yet. He did lose 2 battlecopters, and that's a lot of power charge. But okay, I suppose I can go over medium tanks now. So, medium tanks are, they are the strongest land unit in Advance Wars 1, in terms of direct combat. And it's funny, because then in Advance Wars 2 they say they're the second best, and then in Advance Wars Dual Strike they're the third best. Which, poor medium tanks. But okay then. Medium tanks have a few significant weaknesses compared to regular tanks, even beyond their pricing. They are 16,000, which is more than the price of 2 regular tanks, and that can be a big problem sometimes. But their real problem is they only have 5 move, and also 1 vision. They're terrible in Fog of War, but that's not relevant here. That 5 move and less fuel, medium tanks sometimes do have to worry about fuel. The 5 move makes them especially vulnerable to being lured into artillery ambushes. It's kind of hard for them to maneuver around artillery the way tanks can, so that does become a bit of an issue. However, if they do shoot a tank, they basically just wipe them out. Medium tanks are incredibly sturdy defensively, even to battle copters. The main reason battle copters are good against medium tanks is that they don't take much damage in return, but copters are only going to do about 2 HP worth of damage to a medium tank. They devastate tanks offensively. They actually do okay damage against ships, but again, good luck hitting a ship with a medium tank, and even more good luck doing that. Their machine guns are really devastating towards infantry, as we saw in the last map, and they are actually pretty decent against transport copters, but other than that, yeah, they're not good against battle copters. So yeah, Olaf has 4 medium tanks. It's a good thing that I only need to kill like 1. In fact, I already got the perfect power score because I killed 2 units. And if we check the status, Olaf had 11 deployed, so that's more than 10% of his army, so that's going to give me a perfect power score. Power is honestly really not that difficult to get in Advance Wars 1. But okay, let's waste no further time and blast this tank right here on this bridge. Now, actually, I have a bridge kind of near me that looks like this. But okay then, yeah, I only took a little bit of counterfire, but I really, really do not want to expose my artillery to enemy units, especially mechs, because if a mech hits an artillery, that's what we in the business call a bad engagement. Like, I want to stress, I am really not like a competitive Advance Wars player at all, but I've watched some competitive play of it, and, okay, the APC will be safe if it goes there. But also, I really don't want my mech getting hit by 2 enemy mechs at the same time, so I'd probably rather do... Yeah, so if I do this, and if I drop my mech off here, that puts the mech in range to countercharge any of these mechs, while at the same time, meaning that this APC can pick up more units later, which is pretty cool for me. So, in fact, this... Like, in general, you don't really want to, like, this is another important tip. You don't want to end your turn inside a transport if you can afford it, because, there's not really much point to, because a unit in a transport can't do anything, and they won't be able to do anything if they wait either. And if they get out of the transport, then... I love that laugh. If they get out of the transport, then at least they're 1 space further ahead than they would have otherwise been.
Go forth, my troops!
Oh, actually, no, that's a weakened tank, I forgot. It's still actually a bad engagement. I was dumb and didn't notice that. I probably should have paid more attention to that tank right there. But yeah, that tank can get countercharged by my mechs right now. So, it's put itself in a bad position. I actually kind of like how they, like, point with, like, fire, like that. It's just, there's still a decent personality in these animations. Oh boy, medium tanks are incoming. Okay, yeah, I've got, oh boy, and also, artillery there is in range of my own tank, which is not good. Because, like, while I'm bottlenecking him, this guy is going to die to that artillery right now, and then the medium tank's going to rush in. And this copter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, cannot get into position to choke point that bridge, which is really bad. However, I do have a mech that's caught in the open here. Problem is, if I do that, my anti-air is going to get slaughtered by that medium tank, because medium tanks do tend to one-shot, like, yeah, regular medium tanks do tend to one-shot stuff. Okay, then. In that case, I'm going to shell that medium tank, I think, first. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay. A 7 HP medium tank is a lot less dangerous than a full HP medium tank. He's full meter, okay then. Yeah, I had a feeling he'd be full meter very soon. This copter can technically still choke point though. Although it does leave this medium tank free to kind of run rampant inside my lines, which is not good. But again, if I am choke pointing with this copter, I'm not entirely that worried. So let's go ahead and... yeah, let's just show how devastating copters are against, like, infantry. I kind of like the way the Blue Moon machine guns look, too. Okay, this tank is going to not be great against the enemy tank. So this mech can Okay, that's a likely one-shot with luck rolls in mind, but it might not one-shot, and if it doesn't, that could actually be problematic for me. I'm gonna go for this anyway. It'll probably one-shot, we'll see. Okay, yeah, if you don't see the enemy unit fire back, you know you got a one-shot, so that's good. Now, Olaf is probably gonna use his power next turn. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here is, gonna blast this mech off the map with my anti-air right now. Yep, there we go, totally gone. And let's not accidentally hit in turn like I have sometimes done in Fire Emblem Engage and horribly regretted it. This mech can't really do much now, but like I do like that one shot. I don't think the medium tank is gonna one shot my anti-air from here. And so, like, tank versus weakened medium tank is not a terrible matchup sometimes, because that would mean I'm on a road. And tank versus mech is okay if I'm on a city and I'm getting the first strike, and it's a weakened mech. Yeah, there we go. That's going to be pathetic, yep. That was clearly a dud bazooka round there. Okay, then. Now, I really do not want my APC getting shot too much by stuff, so in that case I'm going to take my own advice and making this medium tanky go. I'm going to drop you there. In a pinch, infantry can be helpful as walls, and here we see another weakness of the missile unit. Now that Olaf has no air units left, this missile is completely useless. It's just sitting around here doing nothing, and that's often what happens with missiles. Which is really sad, because they're worth a lot of money. And this Copter is just gonna... Yeah, I'll put him there. I could run away and be a jerk and be like, hey, you're getting the evac after this, but no. Like, I mean, the battle is gonna be over. Oh, you even get a snow effect when Olaf's power meters fall. That's cool.
Let the winds of war bring snow.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, every commander has, like, what I consider to be their most iconic power quote. That is Olaf's iconic power quote to me. Nell's is Lucky Me, which isn't quite as iconic to me, personally. This is 10% firepower, so I don't think this APC will die, but... Okay, good, it didn't die, yeah. I predicted correctly. But yeah. So, like, as you can see here, medium tank versus Copter, it's going to do a tiny bit of damage, but I'm also going to be doing some damage back, and, yeah, overall, taking one hit point off a medium tank is probably worth losing 1 HP off my Copter. So, Olaf's pretty much lost right now, and I don't really have anything else left I can do, except I can try and bully his units a little bit, so, you know what, I don't think I'll be I might be able to kill one medium tank if I do this. I know that I promised to talk about Nell and Olaf in this one, but turns out that that there was a lot more tutorials than I was expecting. I actually don't think I'll be able to kill this, which is kind of sad. Sometimes it's just fun to bully Olaf a little bit. He does have that 10% defense from his power. That's probably why I'm not being able to take him out here. But that's not gonna work. I've got to be a little careful, because if I move my cursor over to an enemy and I'm just looking at how much damage they're doing, and if I hit the A button by accident, that's going to initiate an attack, and that can be very, very bad if I do that in the wrong circumstance. And, overkill. But yeah, it's only a base damage of 85% versus an enemy in a city. In fact, you know what? I'm going to actually do this, because that way I'm out of range of the artillery. It's not going to matter, because I'm going to win this turn anyway, but yeah, it's at least, you know, assuming that the battle carried on one more turn, it would be very, very bad to put my anti-air in range of the artillery like that. I mean, this is mech versus medium tank. Technically speaking, this is a cost-effective engagement, because the medium tank is worth way more than the mech is. So even taking off a couple of HP is, like, way worth the price of that mech. But at the same time, you usually don't want to do this unless it's, like, really, really weak in medium tanks. But anyway, yeah, that should be map over. And I'm pretty sure I didn't lose any units that time, so this should be 3 days.
That takes care of that.
A lot of enemies destroyed in one turn, no losses. This should be a perfect S rank. Yeah, this is actually part of the gimmick of Advance Wars 1's campaign. Advance Wars 1's campaign is very much focused on knowing how to use the various units. It's about the unit matchups, what plays well against what, and giving you pre-deployed forces to play around with.
This isn't over yet.
Oh no! It's almost like in battle, sometimes doing something smart is better than just blindly charging in with a bunch of powerful tanks.
You sure are a quick study. Let's try another one.
Yeah, Pervious rank. It's an easy mission, so, I mean, I don't really, consider that bragging rights. But yeah, that is that mission over, and, we've had some tutorials on a few units, so I'll see you all next time for what I believe is the final field training mission that got promoted to main campaign, and I think it is the introduction of Fog of War. So that's my guess as to what the next mission is, so we'll see you for that, and yeah, don't worry, then I'll cover Nell and Olaf, next time. But as always, remember, Olaf is an idiot.